Today, we're going to build a Mando blaster. Okay guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. This is Phil Marshall here. Today, I'm going to show you how to do the Mando, the Blaster Factory Mando kit. I get this email or text just about every day. Everybody's wondering how hard this thing is to put together. So I hope after this video some of the newbies to the prop building world will feel a little bit more comfortable about doing this. So let's get started. First and foremost, all of this stuff is on Blaster Factory. If you haven't been to our website, go there and check this out. There's a lot of different replicas on there. Go to the Mandalorian section, check out these different kits. There's a steel version. This is the basic aluminum version, and I also have a version of it where it's pre-assembled and already anodized black. It's kind of an idealized version, but you can get one pre-assembled. Today I'm going to talk about the kit, the actual raw aluminum kit, okay? The steel kit is actually available too. It goes together the same way, except paint. You don't paint it. You'd actually, probably blue it. Looks really cool, but that'll be a different build. So set that over here, and here's the black anodized one, all pre-built, ready to go. For those who don't think they've got time to do it themselves. So, but this is what we're doing today. Okay. Now I'm not going to do the painting or weathering. There's guys out there that do commission work, and there's a lot of videos for people doing how-tos and different techniques. But today I just want to show you and show the basic build of it. Okay, and I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm going to use crazy glue or super glue. You may want to use some other types of adhesive depending on how strong you want it to be. I know some people use epoxy and other things, but it's as simple as getting some cheap glue. Okay, step one. This is what you're going to get in the kit. There's different assemblies are in different bags here. You've got the slide, got the rear sight, barrel assembly, and a lot of the side pommel and breech area, trigger assembly, and you've got the real machined. I actually had to create these from scratch, but these are actually machined from walnut, and you'll sand, stain them, do whatever you want to get them colored. First thing, and this is usually the toughest part for everybody, is doing the trigger setup. So I'm going to start off with that because you need to start from the center of the gun. Let's get all the guts in it. So there we go. Let's move this stuff aside. And we'll go to this little pack right here that's got all the fun trigger stuff in it here. Okay. Over here. Side plate. Hammer. There's the brass trigger. There's the 2 leaf springs. Sear and the knuckle. And the little dowels and springs you're going to need here. Okay. Now, first thing, find the 2 little buttons. Okay, there's a small one and a large one. Okay, you're gonna want to put the small one in this hole and the large one here. And what I do is I go ahead and put them in, because if you try to glue them, in without doing this, you're gonna get glue all over the outside. Trusty little ball peen hammer. Some of them might be a little tight fit, so just tap them in. Okay, now these will probably fall out if we don't glue them, so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put glue on the back side of them, and not a lot of glue. I like this crazy glue. Sometimes it has a little brush on it, makes it real easy. But look behind here, and now these holes that they go through, they go all the way through, but there's one next to it here for a dowel pin on both sections. So don't just glob a bunch of glue down there. Just put it right where the button is, just a little bit. A little bit will go a long way there. That'll hold it. Wipe off the excess. Let that dry for a minute there. I'm just going to set that aside. What we're going to do next, after we got the little side plate, got the little buttons on there, we're going to build this setup here for the functioning trigger here. You got the trigger piece, you got the knuckle, sear, and hammer, okay? And if you go to the website, this stuff's on the page with the product. So this is probably one that gives the most people the most trouble, because they, don't see how all this stuff fits together. But I'll go ahead and build one for you too, because the pins are a little bit tricky to keep them all lined up while you're putting the plate on, but we'll get through it. So here we go. First things first, brass trigger, okay? And we need the knuckle. And the knuckle is going to face in this direction. It's got a hole in the back of it for this spring right here. So we will grab one of the little, there's three dowels here that are the pivot points for everything, and the pivot point for the hammer. And we will start off, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in for the hammer, because it is tight, okay? And you got to work it in here, and there again, you're going to need your trusty ball peen hammer, and you put it on something hard. Just tap it in there, make sure it's straight, okay? I've already done one here because I don't want to be banging on this table, this mat, but get that in there. Go ahead and be done with that. Next, let's go back to the trigger and knuckle piece here. Go ahead and slide this little dowel in here. Line it up. There we go. Okay. Let that fall out. Drive you crazy. Okay. Do that one more time here. Okay. And put the spring back here. Okay. And we'll close that up. It has a little spring tension on it. And I'll hold that, keep that pin in there so I can get it in position here. Oh yeah, before I do that, let me show you something. This pin here is going to, there's a slot right here.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some sluts too.
Because of the trigger rocks, this pin's got a pivot right there. It's got a little slide slot there. So go ahead and slide that in there. Keep all that together. See, pin drop down in the slot, we're good to go. Next thing, get the sear, the pin for the pivot point on the trigger here. That dropped into place. Now, there we go. That's what we want to see. Okay. Next, got the little sear and spring. So, what we need to do here is we'll refer to our picture again. See which direction it is. There's a little catch for it. It needs to face toward the back of the gun. The spring goes on top. There again, this picture is on the website with the product. So. Okay, we'll flip that in there. Same deal, find the third dowel, and we'll set that in there, get it kind of close. There it is, drop right into position. I'm not going to put the spring in yet because I want to put the hammer in. I think that's an easier way of doing it without the tension on it. There again, drive that in, make sure you don't have to use a sledgehammer, just tap it in so that it's straight, and then the hammer sets on top of that. And also this other little pin comes separate too. You'll need to glue that in with a little super glue. Make sure that don't fall out. So you got that pivot point. And this guy here, slide in the top. And make sure it's straight. Don't let it, kind of kick out. Just kind of push it down in the slot there. And then you see you've got spring tension now. Okay, next, got 2 leaf springs. And what I do on those, sometimes we pre-bend them, sometimes we don't, but there's no magic to it. Just kind of bend them. So you'll have a little, that's going to be the spring tension for the hammer. And they're going to go in this little cutout slot here. Stick them in there and then push them behind the hammer. See that? Okay. Here we go. Now, we'll go back to our little side plate where we put our buttons in. And line that up. Now there again, all of these pins have a corresponding spot that they go in, and they're going to be kind of, you know, probably not straight. Some of these are a little loose, so you got to kind of little finesse here, work it down in there. That dropped in really nice, so there we go. And we got, hold that in place, we can test it. Next, we drop that screw in there. Next thing you'll need is a flathead screwdriver. Secure that. Now there again, nice and snug, but don't over tighten. There's only a few threads. If you ever tighten it, you're gonna pop the threads. You're gonna be gluing this screw in, so be careful of that. Okay, we've got our trigger group put together. Springs, leaf springs in it, screws are in it. It cocks, catches, and releases. So that's good to go. That's probably the hardest part. So we're past that. So next, we're going to our walnut grips. Now, I would probably do a little sanding and prepping, and whether you're using walnut stain, tung oil, whatever you're doing to weather these things, I'd go ahead and do that and have them dry before this next step. So, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to go ahead and assemble them. You're going to need this tack here. It's got the pommel and the brass rod. And let me dump this out. I'll show you all these pieces. And let's see, you got the side cover, pommel. There's that little round piece on the side, cross pin, safety. There's this part here. Got the cleaning rod, little clasp for the cleaning rod, front screw, nut, couple dowels, and we got the bottom line screw that we're going to need to hold the pommel on. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a 330. You're going to need a 3/32 Allen wrench, and if you have one of these packs, it's going to be the fourth one over, 3/32, fractional size, and that's what's going to hold the grips on. Now, before you just try to ram them on there, notice there's a slot on the top here, and that slot corresponds with a slot
There's so many slots you won't know where to begin.
a little place that'll stick into it, you know, on the bottom of this plate and on the other side. You want to make sure we're going to slide that into there. That's what locks it in on the top. Also, there's a couple bosses back here that correspond with some cutouts, so that when this is screwed on the bottom, these teeth right here are going to dig into it and hold it on the bottom, because it was kind of a tricky thing. You know, there was no screws. Typically a grip on most, you know, any kind of gun anywhere has got a couple screws or something to hold it on to the grip, and this one don't. So it was either glue them on or kind of find a little way to do that. So first one here, we'll go ahead and slide it into place, and we're going to want to pop it in right here, and it will slide up, and you can see right here it slid right up into that little groove, so that's good. The other side the same way. Ooh, and there you go. From the last vid, I should have put a little bit more glue on this little hammer one here. Go ahead and catch that up. Okay, there we go. Hold that. Okay. Now, before you put the pommel on, make sure everything is pushed up and seated correctly. Okay, this is together. Let me see this. Okay, now time for this. It's got a little flathead screw, and there's the hole, threaded hole right here. Let's line that up, get that straight up and down. There we go. Hold the grips together while you're doing this too. Okay, there it goes. I felt it bite in, so that's what you want. And there again, when you get snug, stop. You know, this thing's not holding a train, so if you go too far, you're going to strip something or break something. So there we go. Now we got our grips on. Everything's functional there. Nothing in a bind. Okay, let's see here. I guess we ought to glue this together. A couple things we need to prep before we get there. We're going to put this disc on. I think we ought to put the cleaning rod together too. Now the disc, there's a little there's a lower section, there's a little section here. I put a little bit of glue here and try to keep it off of the outside where it'll show. There we go. Lay that in there. Okay. Let that dry for a minute. Okay. Set that on there. Now, cleaning rod. Got 2 pieces to it. Okay. Now, on all the pictures and everything that I've seen in the series, this little part up front is actually, I guess from putting it in the holster, it's actually bent. But it's going to come like this. If you want to bend it for, screen accuracy, that's up to you. But it's going to come in its original state here from what I can tell. This was on the real firearm, little slot in here is probably to put a little piece of a rag or something to clean the barrel with. So I am going to there again, put a little on the outside of this, just a little bit. I don't want it to run all over the place. And it dries quick, so be ready for this. You're going to want this facing up with your notches in the back. So kind of eyeball that, make sure you're in alignment. You see that? Okay. And that will dry pretty quickly. Next, let's see, we'll go ahead and prep the safety on the side, the brass safety. Now, this one for me gives me the most amount of trouble getting glue all over the side of the prop, which you don't want to do. I start off very simply, take one of the little dowels that comes with it and just put a little bit of glue on it, very small amount, and we're going to go ahead and put those in the holes and let that dry. Okay, these things are tiny. Okay, a little bit of glue, see that? I'm going to pop that in, make sure there's no excess on it, because if you lining it up is kind of a pain in the butt, and if you miss when you're putting it in there and you got glue all over it, you're going to get it all over the side of the blaster and have to deal with it. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and mount, secure this part, and let's see, we'll stay where you can see it in the camera here. This is where this goes in. Hold that, put this on, got this nut here. Now once you get this together, you may want to use a little wrench, maybe put a little bit more tension. Needs to be a little tighter than finger tight, but I'm just going to do that for now. Now, once that's there, go ahead and slide this under there. Just about right there, okay? Like I said later, you might want to tighten that up a little bit to kind of cinch it together. Okay. Oh, here we go. We've got this little piece here on the front of the prop. It's got a little knob right there, which this little screw here simulates it really nice. So I'll go ahead and put that in too. I can hold on to it. And that, let's see, it's a smaller Allen wrench. Let's figure out what that one is. That is a 5/64. Let's go ahead and just tighten that down. Go ahead and get that off our plate there. 5/64, screw it in tight, done. Now that we've got our cleaning rod and the nut on there and the little clasps, that's tight. I'm going to pop back over to the other side here, and there's this cool little half moon piece here. It goes right here, and I know in some of the earlier models, I didn't have this quite worked out yet, a year or so ago, but this part we just glue it on there. But some guys are, if you're cosplaying and plotting in holster, this piece could pop off. So I found I put a hole in it here to correspond with one here in the side of the blaster, so that'd be a little more secure for you. There's a little dowel here, and I had to take a little break and go find one, because when I had it here, it actually rolled off and landed on the floor and disappeared. So you know what, while you're working on this kit, you might be aware that some of these pieces are small, so you're going to want to keep up with them. It's real easy for them to vanish into the abyss. Okay, now I start off, get that lined up, and that one popped in there really nice. And if it doesn't go all the way down, I hold it like this, ball peen hammer. Hear that sound? I bottom that. You need to bottom that little dowel out, because if it's sticking out too much, it won't go all the way down in the hole, and it'll stand off. There again, tiny bit of glue goes a long way. Just put a little bit on the end of here, because you don't want it running all over the side of this thing. And there's a flat on the top that goes toward the top of the blaster here. Press it in there and let that dry. There we go. Wonderful. I don't know if that's dry yet. I'll go to the back. Okay. Now, got another part here. We'll go ahead and put the safety the same way, same exact way. Little small dowels, tiny holes here. Just a little bit on the end of each one of these dowels. And I start off, I'm holding it by this piece right here. And what I'm going to do is I get one of them in position and get that lined up. I get it in there to where it's lined up, and boom, there we go. Yep, no glue on the outside. Good clean bond there. Okay. There we go. Okay. Nice. Okay. Now we need to deal with the slide and barrel, top sight. There's a couple pieces. I guess we'll before we do the slide, let's go ahead and put the barrel in, which is going to be in this bag here. I'm doing this out of order a little bit, but I think it's more convenient. Okay, got a bunch of pieces here. Ooh, almost lost that little dowel. So make sure nothing left in the bag. Okay, there's the flash hider. That is going to be one of the last things we put on. Barrel screw, little block for the sides, sight. All these little pieces we'll get to. Okay, barrel. Okay, now on this side of the blaster, this block goes on it, and this mounted on that hole. On the other side has this this rod and two little pieces here, two little flat pieces. So we won't worry about that right now. We'll just get this in here, but make sure you put this toward the back, because if you flip it this way, it's not going to work out. Okay, we'll do that. Longer screw, and I believe this is going to be an 1/8 inch Allen key. And now I don't tighten it up here. I want to be able to spin it. Okay, it's not time to tighten it up yet. Leave that as it is. And the next thing we're going to do is, let's get this little rectangular block, and it's got a radius cut in the back, and it's got a place for a pin, which one of these little smaller pins here. Okay, just put a little dab, same deal, a little bit of glue. Let's get the pin in there, locate it, and I'll make sure that went all the way down. Okay, it did. And it's going to go in this hole here. Now, if for some reason that hole has got you got some I don't know, little scraps or anything, just make sure the hole is clear before you try to ram this little thing in there. They can have a little bit of debris from us machining, so just make sure you've got a clear hole. Okay, a little bit of super glue there. And I go ahead and see if you can see this. It is going to nest right there on the side of that. Get it lined up. Okay. There we go. Almost there. And I'm going to tap it. Get that on there. I think I broke my glue loose on the first hole. No, it's on there. Okay. Did break this one loose though. There again, I'm not using a lot of glue because I'm doing this kind of down and dirty. You may want to use epoxy or something a little more permanent than super glue. There we go. Okay. Now that that's there, I can tighten this thing up, because what I want it to do is to be biased this way, up just a hair, but that way. And I know where the position is now of the barrel. So let's tighten that down. There we go. See that? Very slight little gap right here, facing this direction. Done. I don't think we need that Allen key for a while. Okay. Next, probably ought to, we're going to put the sight on there next. And the reason I'm doing that is this sight actually hangs off of the sides, and if you try to put the crossbar on, it's going to interfere. So let's go ahead and deal with that. Again, we've got all these little dowels to deal with. 2 little dowel holes. There's actually 4 holes on the bottom of this. The other 2 bigger holes are where we machined it, and they were screwed down to a plate where we machined around it, which if you follow us, you've probably seen us making these on the CNC machines. Here we go. Slide those in there, and they just stick out a little bit. They help locate this, plus give it a little bit more strength than just gluing it to the top, because there again, this splasher, there's no screws or anything holding anything together, so it's kind of, probably the original prop's probably a 3D print or something. So okay, see that? Line them up and slide them in there. Now they are tight, so either press that together, or if it doesn't go quite together, I'll use the back wood part of the handle, just tap it. And doggone it, a little piece from my stupid hammer here fell out again. There we go. Glue it back in. Yeah, I think epoxy would work better on that. Okay, that's all. Okay, now the rear part. You got the two little round pieces, and we can go ahead and do those. These are kind of hard to hold on to. To put a little bit of glue on that. There's a hole that drops in. Same thing on the other side. There we go. Okay, guys, still with me? We got that. Okay, and this is another part where I would put the glue. I'm about to glue this on the back here. I would put the glue inside here, so it's a lot easier, so it doesn't squish out. There you go. Do that. And I usually save these little guys, a lot of these little pieces, to the very last, because as I'm working on it, I don't want to knock them off. And these two little side pieces will do there at the end. Okay. Now, well, here we are. We've got our the sights on, trigger mechanism, grips, got that part, barrel in, cleaning rod, the clasp. We got the safety on. The next thing we need to do is the slide bar here, and I wait till now, because if you can't really put it on until you've got this and this on. So and let's see what would be, yeah, that's good. Let's do it. Now this is going to come like this, and a lot of times we've already got it mounted. And if you've got, there again, if you've got an older kit, it's a little bit different than this. In some of the later episodes, we started noticing, and I don't know whether they discovered that, he kept knocking this plate off or what, but it looks like there's two little screws holding on now. So, from the one I originally did that just had holes there, what it looked like, to actually being able to screw it on here where this plate will actually stay on there. So should come like this or in two separate pieces, but it's just two screws that hold it on the side there. It'll be a lot more secure. And let's see, very simply, there's a little notch here, a little dovetail, and it corresponds to a T-slot right here. And just line it up and slide it that way. Next, the little thumb piece here. Now, this piece here, we usually put it in a vise, and you're going to want to bend and shape this. This is actually a little bit curved, and I usually grab it in a vise and just bend it a little bit, but you know, whatever shape you want to do it at is just whatever you see in the pictures there. Next thing, this is one of the newer models I'm doing, and did realize that this side screw here is actually cross-hatched and has a slot in it. So we've updated that too. I hope you can see that. You know, maybe not. But that is an upgraded piece there. Very simply, there's a hole there that's threaded, and just line those up and just tighten it down. There again, you know, don't over tighten, just snug it up, because if you over tighten any of these things, they're real shallow holes, you're going to end up stripping it. So this side's complete. We are done. So we will flip it over to the other side. And there we go. Okay, next thing's next here. Okay, fun part. Got this steel rod, and see if you can see this too. It runs along this way and has these two tabs here held on by this screw. So this is pretty easy to do. Now, a lot of times I will start this screw first, and I think we're going back to our 3/32 Allen key here, and line it up. It's real easy to cross thread this, by the way. Make sure that it's going in straight, or you're going to strip this out, and there's not very many threads. So okay, I did get that started. Go a little ways down, just get it started. This is going to go into a little notch here and underneath this screw. So stick it under the screw and into the notch. Okay, and then tighten it down. There we go. There's that part. Okay. Now, okay, next part here, I'm going to put the flash hider on. Now, there's going to be a little video here. I go press this in a vise. I put it in a vise and just squish it together. Also, flash hider, and we got the sight leaf. Got a small slot here and a tab on the sight. This has to be pressed in, okay? Now, two ways to do it. Probably at the house, you can do this too. Hold it in place, and you know, use a ball peen hammer and kind of tap it in. If you've got a vise, this is a little easier for me, but I get it lined up and I press it in. That way it's in really good. Then I'll put a little drop of glue on the back just to make sure. But there you go. Also, you can do this too. If you can hold it, is just tap it in. That's not as easy to do on this table, but you can see what it's supposed to look like here. And I've got another little video that will probably bleep in here and show me doing that back there. But screw here, 1/8 inch Allen key, and this screws in the front. When you got the sight leaf on it here, just line it up where it's on top and snug it up. And you may want to put a little bit of glue if you want to on the screw so it don't come loose, whatever, that's up to you. Okay, and next, a couple little fun things here. There's a little sight tab that goes in this slot up here, okay? Now, there again, this is a tough one to get in there without getting a whole crap load of glue on the outside of it. So I put it on the very bottom here, okay? And line it up and kind of drop it in the slot there. And hopefully it don't stick to your fingers and fall out. There we go. Okay. Hold that for just a second. There we go. I'm going to get enough glue on it. Get enough glue on it. Okay. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. No glue on the outside showing. It'll look a lot better when you're trying to paint it. Okay. Let's see here. Next, these little tabs. Now, back when we were orienting the barrel and putting it in the right way, those two little slots, well, that's what these are. That's what goes in there. And these need some glue on them to keep them in place. So this was going to be facing this way, so I'm going to put glue kind of on the bottom of the tab here and drop it in the slot. There we go. See that? Same thing on this one. Beautiful. Let those dry. There you go. Down and dirty little setup there. You know, it's not that hard. If you have any questions, you know, you can always text me or, you know, message me through the Blaster Factory Facebook page or on our YouTube channel there. And I hope that this video and this quick little down and dirty build helps everybody. And, you know, this is not that hard of a build. Now, you know, this painting and weathering, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But I'm sure there'll be some more videos to follow that up. Thanks for watching.